and questions you will have to put them into the chat field, please, because then we'll make sure to read them out loud and reply to them as we go along and as it fits into our presentation as well. And don't worry, we will get through all of your questions. So yes, over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Søren. If you could just pull up that first slide there, that would be great. So I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Matthew Sion. A lot of you from the North American region would have probably spoken with me before, or at least received some emails from me. For those in other regions, I'm responsible for North America for add-on products and do work with a lot of the clients directly, as well as handling our resellers and partners throughout Canada and the US, and some down in South America as well. I'm not going to touch too much on Resource Central. A lot of you have used Resource Central for a very long time. You know the product pretty well. Søren is going to go over some of the new things that are coming. If you wanted to see more about Resource Central down the road, you can let us know, and we'll do more of a demo and maybe look at your specific needs and environment, since you're already using the product. But the first slide you're going to see here is just something I thought I should talk about, because a lot of the clients have modified their floor plans for a back to work strategy, or ones that have never left, but they've had to modify their environments. They've taken their floor plans and they've more set them up in a way, as you can see, where a lot of the hot desks or workable spaces are blocked off, so you can make sure that you have your socially distanced working while your people are in the office to ensure their safety. You can do things like show them arrows for traffic, sanitation stations, things that will make the worker and the employee feel safer when they come back into the office, to know that those measures have been taken. The fact that the employers are taking these measures is great, but the employees and the workers want to know that that's happening. So this is a nice way for them to see when they're booking spaces through Resource Central that these things are being done. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about a couple of different products that we have that are being used a lot in the back to work strategy. One is called Workspace. Workspace is essentially a resource scheduling application. And you can go to the next slide, please, Søren. A resource scheduling application that's made for your mobile workforce. People who are always mobile, and then as well as today, where the majority of people have gone to more of a mobile working from home, or if they are into the office, maybe not every day. So they're not always in front of their computers. They're using their mobile devices a lot more often. So we have an app that we have come up with called Workspace. And if you can go to the next slide, please, Søren. We will kind of just dive into this relatively quickly, just to kind of show you what's involved here. So whether you're going to a permanent hot desking situation or hoteling, or you're going to something in the interim until we get back to the new normal, Workspace is going to make it easier for users to kind of book these resources and see them, as I mentioned, from their phone, without having to open up a laptop or a desktop and dive into Outlook and do all the stuff that Resource Central allows them to do while they're sitting at an office or at their desk. So as you can see here, we can pull up floor plans from the mobile, just like you saw in the Resource Central product, through the app, and you can go ahead and easily go through the stages of finding a hot desk that's available, going ahead and booking it on the fly. You can look at floor plans, you can look at list views, you can type in the name of the hot desk or resource that you want, and you can easily see your schedule of your reservations on that last page. At any given time, you can click on that. I'll go through this quickly because I know this isn't the main part of the demo. And again, if you would like to see a demo of any of these tools, please reach out to us directly after, or even just put it in the chat now. We'll make note to have somebody in contact with you to show you. If you go to the next slide, please, Søren. So the next slide here, more of if you're working from home, kind of on a majority of the time, you want to come in one day a week or one day every couple of weeks, and you want to work beside colleagues or near colleagues, you can easily come onto here and do a search for where your other colleagues are. And you'll be able to go ahead and do that without having to contact them or look through a million different reservations to try to find where they are. So you can easily find it and then go ahead and book a space next to them through the same process. Just as you can see, a lot of these images are the same, but they're just showing you how it would work if you want to find a colleague. Next slide, please. Once you are, if you're at the office, maybe when we've opened up a little bit more where we don't have to book a space to sit in advance, or you've got to an office and you've maybe forgot to book somewhere to sit and you don't want to have to, go back home, or you're allowed to do it on the fly. We can set up QR codes, not just on hot desks, but on conference rooms. And this is kind of an inexpensive way of having, the ability to book by just scanning something, as opposed to having to have a screen at every room or a screen on every desk where you can go in and use RFID readers or actually go through the booking process. You can simply walk up to the desk or to the room, hold your phone camera over top of it, and it will automatically bring up the booking process, just as if you did it yourself while you were typing through. So just a nice, quick, easy way to book it on the fly, and it's inexpensive. You don't need to buy a digital screen, although we do sell digital screens and desk screens, so we would love you to do that, but we know that that's not always feasible. So this is a nice way to enable to do that. It's not a display, but it'll allow you to kind of book there on the fly. Okay. Can you go to the next slide, please? We also have the ability to do a check-in functionality or cancel the booking through this. And you can make this mandatory where they have to check in. It doesn't have to be, but it's a nice way to ensure that when someone's coming to a desk or coming to a booking, if they don't check in, you can have the system free that resource up for the next person that wants to use it. So if someone has a hot desk book, they change their mind, they're not going in, or something's come up and they forget to cancel it, our system will automatically clear that, just like Resource Central can do as well. Okay. And then if we just go to the next slide here, one of the big things that we run into is people want better reporting, and they want to be able to report on things like contact tracing. So if someone does unfortunately come down or test positive, and you want to be able to run a report to know where they were, who could have been impacted, who's at higher risk than others, et cetera. We have created reports within these products that will allow you to run reports quickly and see who needs to be contacted and told that they may need to isolate or go get a COVID test done to ensure that there's no more spread. You can do that here. Different types of sanitization reports as well to ensure that the staff is cleaning. And again, we know the majority of employers are taking these steps, so that's one thing. But the other thing is we have to be able to prove to employees and workers that safe. A lot of people are more nervous than others, and it's nice to give them that comfort level that they can see that this stuff is being done, and you can actually show them that it's being done, and they'll be able to see it as part of their normal working process. Okay. There was a question there. Did somebody get that question? We could answer it now if you want. I didn't quite see it.
There was a question regarding whether it's possible to reuse the QR codes since they already have some, or should they generate some new ones?
I think you have the option to do both. I can look into that, but a QR code is a QR code. I believe we just have to program the system to use it. But let me look into that a little bit further when I've never been asked that question before, and then we can get back to you.
Good. And then, yes, this recording will be sent out to all of the participants after the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Now, the next slide here, again, quickly, same sort of situation, not really reporting, but when you're creating these hot desks, a lot of people might have the intention to go in and say, I want to make sure I get this desk. I like to sit at this desk, so I'm going to book it for the next, 52 Mondays. Even if I'm not going to go in, I want to book it just in case, which you may be okay with that, but a lot of organizations are not. So we can allow you to limit, how many reservations they can book, how many reservations a resource can take at one time, how far into the future resources can be booked. That can all be set up when you're creating the resources within the system. And you can see that there. Okay. And now if you go to the next slide, a lot of you are aware that we have the signage product, digital sign service. It's been out for a long time for your tablets that sit out front of your meeting rooms. Well, we have some new functionality. This is in beta, so it's not quite out yet, but we have some kiosk functionality that is there. It's out, but not really out, so we can start to use it at any given time if you'd like. But essentially, it's going to allow you to have a kiosk anywhere for your facilities, multiple kiosks that would display a nice big floor plan or list view for your users, and they can essentially go ahead and book just like they would be able to do from the Resource Central resource finder window or the workspace app, very similar anyways. And they would be able to simply go in and then select the resource that they would like to book. If you go to the next slide, please, Soren will show that. So I've selected that one there, and it will pull up the all the information to go ahead and book that resource. Again, it would function just like the workspace app would function or Resource Central would function. And if you go to the next slide there, you can have a nice list view. Some people still like their list views instead of their floor plans. By all means, we're not taking that functionality away. So you can go ahead and see that that functionality is there. Okay. And then one last slide, I'll just talk about quickly, if you don't mind switching there. These are a new product that add-on product has come out with. Essentially, it's like our digital sign service product, but they are designed for hot desks or workspaces that are mobile. So again, the QR codes will allow you to book, but if you want to do other things and see different things and have an actual display, or you will use RFID cards to check in, check out, book, etc., these are devices a lot less expensive than having, you know, a 10-inch door sign or a 7-inch door sign, and you can buy them in more in bulk for all of your spaces and have them throughout the facility. So, you know, looks very professional, red lights and green lights, just like the signs. They've been out kind of for a while, but we've decided to create our own because I shouldn't say we didn't like, but we weren't thrilled on any of the other offerings that we could have partnered with to get hardware. So we've designed and created these ourselves based on a lot of customers' feedback. Okay. So again, I will pass things back to Soren to go through the Resource Central pieces, but I just wanted to kind of show you some of the other offerings that are out there. And if you want to see anything in more depth, please just put it in the chat or reach out to us directly after, and we'll get the appropriate people to contact you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Good presentation. Any more questions for Matt? And as Matt said, if you need anything, you just type it into the chat field, and he can or one of his colleagues will get in touch with you later on. Yes, and for the ones who maybe didn't hear my my introduction, but you may already have discovered that, questions, please put it into the chat field, and we will of course come around to all questions during this session. So, next part, I will talk about some new options in the order form. Also talk about how visitor fields can now be made mandatory and customized mandatory, just to like you wanted to. And Simon will talk about my meetings for Teams and the Resource Finder add-in now available for Outlook on the web, or OWA as it's also called. So a new thing that we have in the newest version of Resource Central, which has been requested a lot during, at least during the 8 years I've been here in add-on products, is the possibility to put dependencies on properties when applying them to the order form. For example, when you have cost information, you only want the cost information to be mandatory in case that catering has been actually ordered. No need to make the cost information mandatory when you're just requesting a projector or a laptop or other equipment, or maybe even a table arrangement. Now you can make them depending on for example, if catering has been ordered, or you can make it dependent on what is entered into another field. In this case, I have made the department field mandatory in case catering is ordered, and I have created this message. The message here is something that you will write into the system, so you decide what this text should say. It is also possible to use this, for example, of the number of persons, which typically could be that this would be mandatory in case someone ordered a table setup. So if I need to set up a theater style, it would be much appreciated if I would also know for how many people. in this version, we also included the functionality of cascading drop-down lists, meaning that the value in the first drop-down list will decide what's available in the next drop-down list. It's the same example of when you're searching for a car, you would type in the brand in the first one, and then in the next one, you would only see the models that you can buy within that brand. In this case, I have made a table I call departments, and I could have like finance, human resources, IT, sales, etc. Then I would create some different group tables depending on what has been chosen in the first one. So I would create one I could call finance groups, could create another one I would call human resources groups, IT groups, sales groups, etc. And then I will apply them as child tables to this department table, depending on the selection I have made. So this means that when I have selected the finance department, I will now only see the groups within finance in the second one. So this also makes it a lot easier for the users to select the right values. A third thing that we have added is controlling the format of the input in the text boxes, meaning you can now validate your data even more, what's being put into the system. For example, in this one, we have put in a regular expression so that you can make sure that it says XG dash 5 digits, a dash, and 6 digits. And if you don't do that in that format, you will get a notification saying, well, you need to put it in this format. You could also just say, well, it needs to be a number format. For example, the field we had before with the number of participants for the seating arrangements, it would be really nice if that was actually a number and not just some random novel about what people would like in setting up the chairs. And you can put it up as an email, text, and there are different options in there. The way you use this is that when you apply the property in the form editor, there is a section called dependency properties. And in this case, you can of course make it not mandatory, which would mean just a simple input field. You can make it always mandatory like you used to, if you have a field that you really want to be mandatory. But in this case, we could say it's mandatory when a dependency is true. You can then select and say, okay, I want to have it depending on if any deliveries have been made. So I will say if the number of deliveries are more or equal to 1, meaning I have 1 serving or more, then this field department is mandatory, and the message in this field will tell me will be the one displayed if you have not filled in anything in the department field. I could also choose here. There's an option that says that the total amount is higher than X. So you could say if the total amount is higher than 0, in that case, you might want to have some cost info. Maybe you have some items like coffee, tea, water, could be for free. But if you want something to eat, it might cost something. So we only want cost information in the case that things cost something, because otherwise we don't need it if it's for free. And this is, of course, also where you could select a property and say, I want this field to be mandatory if the property seating arrangement has been selected. And I can also make it mandatory in case visitors have been invited. So it will enable you to do put a lot of more intelligence and logic into your order forms and make them even easier for your users to use. Any questions for this? Please also feel free if it springs to mind at a later stage here, just put in the question later. it's then we will of course also we can jump back and take them there. Christina, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, it's not regarding the order form, but there's a question regarding if they would like to require hot desk to be requested by a visitor and then assigned manually by an administrator. So it won't be a full self-service, whether it's possible to configure this.
Yeah, Christina, I was looking at that question as well. This is Matthew from Add-on. I'm not sure I fully understand it. Can we take maybe we can take this offline after so I can get maybe a better understanding of exactly what it is that you're looking for. Just instead of taking up everybody's time for me to try to figure it out, if that's okay. We will reach back out after directly and get some more information.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
But so far, no questions regarding order form.
Okay, good. Next part is the visitor fields. And you of course know the visitor fields, and they can be made mandatory. And you can select which fields you want to make mandatory. You do that on the designer. There's a menu point called visitors, and you can check mark the ones that you want to have mandatory. In this example, it's just the name field that's made mandatory, but you could say it's the name field and the email field that's made mandatory. In order to enable or activate this functionality, you need this this parameter to be set to 1. The visitor.enable required field set to 1. Then the required field check marks will be available inside the visitor view. And you can, of course, also do that for the 5 customizable fields that are in there, where you can choose whether you want to have the car registration number or the shoe sizes of the visitors, whatever you want to put in there, you can use those 5 fields for. I did put in a few extra tricks after I made the agenda, because it's actually also possible now to set up catering to be only available when external visitors are invited to the meeting. We do have customers that have a policy that says, well, you are not allowed to order catering if only internal attendees are attending the meeting. In that case, you need to bring your own coffee and water. So in order to do this, there's another parameter, orderform.externalvisitor.enable catering, which must be set to 1. Be aware that this is a global setting, so it will go for all meetings that you can that you have to invite visitors in order to have catering. Christina?
No questions.
Okay, sorry, I could just hear you. So thought you were, yeah, good. The next one is that a new thing is that a role can be configured so that this role will create an appointment in the service provider's calendar. This means that, for example, facility services who should set up table and chairs, if you have a role for them, if you say create Outlook appointment, an appointment of the exact same time as the meeting that is based on will be put into the service provider's calendar. And the appointment will contain the exact same information as the service provider would normally see in his email, meaning it would say that I would like to have a theater style setup for 45 people. And that would be in the email as well, or in the appointment as well. It could also be used for if you have some IT guys from help desk or service desk that you can request to come and be of assistance when you have a meeting where you would like some assistance to make sure the AV equipment is working, because it's a really important meeting and it's always at the most important meeting that it makes the most trouble. So in this case, you can have an appointment in there, actually put in their calendar. So this it can be used in some other different creative ways. I'm sure you can think of something when you start using it. Good. Then I will turn it over to you, Simon. Now it's your turn.
Thank you, Søren, and hello, everybody. Maybe a short introduction of myself before I continue with the agenda. I'm Simon Fisker, and I'm product owner of mostly Resource Central, and it's basically my job to ensure that Resource Central develops continuously into an even stronger product. Doing this by cooperating with and listening to you customers, listening to our partners and our sales guys to see what is it that our customers are requesting from this product to be even better and to meet all of their needs. There are so many different kinds of corporations using this, so we try to listen to all and find the best approach in regards to pushing new features. So that being said, again, also thank you all for listening in. I will then talk a bit about another feature. We wanted to bring a lot of different features, but we had to focus a bit in regards to the time. But one thing that came within the last year is a new app for Teams. We have listened to different customer requirements and focus to begin with when it comes to Teams by adding My Meetings into Teams. So you have the ability to use My Meetings here for your different teams and do ordering based on your teams. So what does that actually mean? Well, most of you might know that Teams is typically a cluster of different people working towards one common goal, or maybe it could be a customer service group that invite customers in for meetings and talk to them about specific stuff. And what My Meetings will do for you is give you the ability to show the orders in My Meetings for these teams. You might have a channel for this team and you come in and you book a meeting next Friday in your channel to have a customer coming in. That order might be, you can see it down here, you can filter all of your teams and you might say, okay, half of my team's not necessarily going to do any catering orders for those meetings. But for those meetings where we have catering orders, it might be next Friday, we have a meeting with a customer and I have put myself as assisting organizer on this one in order for me to handle in the team the catering, communicate with the guys gonna deliver and the food and make sure that the table arrangement is correct. But I'm off ill and it really doesn't matter because I have a whole team, but they will then need to take over my responsibility, so to speak, as an assisting organizer on this order. So they can go and swap, so the team is not depending on me being there for that day. Bit of technical background is that the assisting organizer in this case is needed because Microsoft has decided that each team meeting is organized by a dummy organizer. So in order for us to handle the order flow, it would just require that you set yourself as an assisting organizer on the meetings in the team. And in this team, I would also be able to see other team members' meetings hosted directly in this channel. Besides that, it's My Meetings as you know it today. You can see your own meetings, you can see the meetings you are an assisting organizer on, and then now just the teams. Where this will bring us in the future, it might be that we find new ideas to put in, but this is the starting point. Also to get communication going on what is foremost could also be required for this feature. Last note for you, those of you who are system admins, it's deployed as a manifest, so you can sit from the Exchange backend and push it to all of your users, force them, so to speak, or you can just add it to the Teams app store where your users can go and add it themselves if they are interested. Good. I think if no further questions on it, I will skip ahead to the next. So we've been waiting for this for a while. We have had been waiting for some different Microsoft upgrades to their API, but finally we have it. We now have Resource Finder Outlook add-in for OWA, Outlook on the web. Very pleased to finally announce this. So basically, it's the Outlook add-in, as some of you might know, others might be using the other kind of resource finder. But for those of you who know it, it does the exact same thing as it would do on your desktop. So nothing special there, but it'll give you more flexibility when you don't have your computer or desktop nearby, and if you just have Outlook on the web access. And that way you can easily get to your resource finder when scheduling meetings on the fly. Another thing that we're able to push as well is our order form, which has been integrated into the Outlook add-in. Just requires book your meeting, the button new order will be there. You can then see the order form as you might know it today. Do your booking, send the close the order form, and you have made your catering order or your extra service order here. Add more rooms, create orders for that. It's all there. Change the time, and the order will also change accordingly. So basically, it's the order form as you know it, now just in the Outlook add-in. Good. Christina, any questions before we go ahead?
Yes, just one popped up. It's asked whether it is possible to make clicking the new order button mandatory.
As in the yes, it is. You just need to set it up per room, which rules you want to govern. It might be that when booking that room, you need to afterwards go into the order form. However, there's a little but here, and it might become a bit technical. We cannot make the order form button available until you have acceptance for the resource by Exchange, because Microsoft don't give us all the keys upfront to create the trace that we need. So we need the accepted resource before we can present the new order. So the appointment needs to go from draft to an valid appointment. So that might give a few limitations to what you might try to achieve. But it can be set up. It can. Good.
No further questions so far.
So that was a little draft of what we saw in the what we've delivered in the past period. What we wanted to talk to you about today was also what is coming, give you a bit of insight in the features to come and a bit about the whys, because basically with the things we are pushed during the last period and what we're going to be pushing in the next period, it's always driven by some kind of customer need. Put roughly, we don't want to think ourselves, we'd rather hear from you guys and deliver what you need. So this is also what we're going to be doing going forward. I'm going to be addressing 3 major features, bit due to time here, but you can also, if time, ask on some of the other features, or we can discuss features that you might have learned about or seen on the roadmap. But Søren, if you skip ahead, then I'll go a bit into workspaces in the office. So Microsoft came out with a new resource type back in July called Microsoft Workspaces. And we want to utilize that going forward to enable workspace bookings in the office. So not just talking about hot desks here, but more working desks for the people who need to go in and out of the office. By COVID, we've seen a larger degree of shift from working from home and working from the office. We have, I guess, globally proven that it can work, that you don't need to be at the office to be productive. You can work from home. And we see companies selling out their old icon buildings to scale down into smaller workspaces or offices, so they can have a mixture of saying, let's say we are 100 employees, but we only have desks for 80 of them. So if that is the case, it should be easy to book these rooms when you go from wanting to go into the office and book a not fixed space, which you're used to. You just go into the office and you know exactly where you're sitting. If this is changing, then it should be easier. So this workspace thing that is coming, it has some different advantages because it's an Exchange resource, but it is a cluster or grouping of X amounts of desks. So this will also mean that we'll be pushing licenses based on these new types, so that you might have the ability to say, okay, now we don't even only have rooms or hot desks. Now we take all of our seats and put them into Resource Central. From a system admin perspective, that would also mean that you don't have to have, let's say you have 3,000 fixed desks at your office. You don't need to push in all of those and maintain them in Exchange. You just need to maintain X% of these groups or these groups which would contain these different desks. And those you would just integrate into Resource Central and manage by that way. So the configuration might be, yeah, we had 3,000 desks, but in total, that's just maybe 300 individual groups. So thereby, we aim to assist a bit more in giving more flexibility when it comes to worker employees wanting to work from home at some point, and in other cases want to go to the office and want an easy way to find their workstations. And of course, it can also for some companies be a cost saving exercise where they can scale down a bit on the fixed seatings and the maintenance of those. Good. Thank you, Søren. Building a bit on the COVID situation and the ability to be more flexible in regards to which desks and resources that are available. We have, based on customer requests, included a new feature that is gonna come in the next release, which is gonna be called workspace utilization. It's a percentage where you can define for location how many of the total amounts of desks do you want to utilize for a given week. An example could be that 2 months from now, you know that a big project is going to start up, and before that you want to make sure that they can get the spacing. So when the project starts, you can say, okay, we had 100 desks, but now I cut it down to 25% of those being bookable because the rest needs to be used for this project. So here per location, you can start setting percentages, how much can I use? And it can be used if you are getting back to work after the COVID to say, the situation is improving. We want tomorrow the 25% to be 50% because disease infection rates are going down, so we are opening up more and more. So can be used for different things to enable this social distancing, but also to make it it's easier to find workspaces, because when your employees then have to battle about these 25% that is actually available when they need to go to the office. We also want to maintain a bit of flexibility by ensuring that X% of these bookings that are available are reserved for employees coming from other locations, or let's say I'm on the 5th floor, but on the 2nd floor, that's the only place I can find a free desk. And here we reserve X amount of these desks so that the people normally working at that floor don't just overbook everything, and then it's very hard to find seatings when you really need to go into work. So this, what can I call it, floor visitor percentage will give a bit of flexibility by reserving desks for other people's than just the one that resides on that floor. It's just the beginning. We have some other ideas that have spawned based on these new developments, and we might go further with it in regards to, for example, creating reports on which departments are using the desks, and are some departments utilizing the desk more than others. But again, we would push this out, listen to what you're saying, and then decide if it's something worth pursuing even further, to see if it gives value for the vast majority. Good. Any questions? No. Then a feature that I, as product owner, have been hoping for and wishing for I won't say a decade, but at least a couple of years, is that we are going to make an even tighter integration of the booking process, having the booking process run from Outlook, your desktop client, but also having the same experience on your mobile app and on Room Signs. Matt told you a bit about the Workspace app, which is one of our newest applications for booking hot desks and rooms for that matter. We are going to make sure that that application is more aligned with what rules you have in Resource Finder, so you don't have to explain to your users that, yeah, some features are in one product and some not in the other. Also giving a tighter integration for system admins to not have to configure the same resources in two different systems. For example, in our digital sign service and in Resource Central, it might be that the room and the door sign is, well, it's the same exchange resource, but we make sure that the integration between the two systems is in place. Create floor map plans in Resource Central, and they'll be synchronized to your Workspace app and to your digital sign system here. So a much tighter integration for the end user experiencing the booking process, but also much easier configuration for those who have this split of systems. So it'll be more experienced as one system. So really looking forward to this feature from a product owner perspective, indeed. Just a little comment. Don't get confused about the Workspace app being called the Workspace and the Microsoft Workspace. They're two very different things. But of course, Microsoft Workspaces will also be bookable in the Workspace app. I guess we named ours first, but Microsoft is bigger, so we couldn't get them to change their resource type naming after that. questions, you can chat them, you can raise your hand. Whilst I'll continue a bit on the next topic. So that was just a brief glimpse of what we're going to be pushing out come the second quarter. It's on our roadmap. Follow our roadmap. We make features available as soon as we know which release they will be on, and when we're sure that they will actually be released. Trying to not create too much uncertainty on what's going in and what's going out. So follow the roadmap. If something is not there that you want to make us aware of, then we have another way another thing we'd like to tell you about. So, and if you can change. What I wanted to just to highlight a bit for those who might not know is that you can get a bit of influence on what we maintenance-wise want to push as a maintenance feature, so to speak. On our web page, it's possible for you to go in and put in a feature request. We invest a lot in new development to make the product better, and we would very much like to hear from you to say, okay, what is you're needing? The more you tell us, the more and better prioritizations we're able to do when we plan new releases. The less than we know, the more we need to guess. So please do tell us either by going in here or by contacting us directly, because I would so much like to push features that you need and not the features that we need to dream up and think you might need. So put them in there, and we'll do our utmost to get them realized and put into the product so you get an even better experience for all of your users. I guess that was it for my part of the presentation. I thank you so much for listening in, and I hope that I will see many of your feature requests coming in the next period, so we can make, by the help from you, Resource Central an even stronger product. With that being said, over to Søren, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Simon. Any questions? We are ending this a bit early compared to the time frame that we planned from the beginning. But this being the first time that we do these sessions, we're still learning. So if you have any comments or suggestions, is there something that we can improve? Is there something that you would like us to talk more about, less about? Then shoot us an email, bring us a comment, because I think this is gonna be we have to do it 3 times to make it a tradition, but otherwise you are we would like to repeat this, because we think it's a good idea, and also to bring us closer to you guys and give you an opportunity to learn about our new features and to give us some good feedback. So if you don't have any more questions, I would say thank you for participating. And as Christina mentioned earlier, we will, once this recording is made or done, wrapped up, we will send out an email to you with the link to that recording, and also probably some links to where you find the feature request and where to find the roadmap and stuff like that, so that it's easy for you to find that and shoot us some feature requests. So thank you all. Enjoy your day and take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.